Okay, boss. Uh, so in the day one, we're going to focus on assuming that we are not really good at the basics, because learning BW would need some basics on the database and understanding about the application. So we're getting out to the basics now. Yeah. So today we'll be focusing on understanding the basics of a database. What is OLTP? What is OLAP? You already know what is a data warehouse or ETL tools, or what do you mean by an application? What is master data? What is transaction data? Okay. Now, so understanding about database. Okay. Database is a software, okay, which is used to store data. So that's it. Database is also a software which is developed by some programming languages, but the purpose of it is to store database. Okay, see, I can store data in Excel files also, but when you say database, you can store data with the property of acid, atomicity అంటాడు, like durability అంటారు, isolation అంటారు, consistency అంటే ఒకసారి డేటా పెడితే ఎప్పుడు అలాగనే ఉండాలి. దట్స్ వాట్ ఇట్ మీన్స్ యాజ్ ఎ డేటాబేస్. ఇట్ హ్యాస్ టు satisfy the property of acid అంటారు actually. Okay. Okay. Any database you taken, whether it is MS Access or Oracle or Sybase, SAP HANA, whatever it is, okay, SQL Server, whatever it is, ultimately it stores data, and it stores data in form of a structure called table. A database and a data storage, and they stores data in form of a structure called tables. And when you say table, it is this, with set of rows and columns. ఇది ఒక్కొక్క రో, and this way if you look at it, it's all what columns. So set of rows and columns is what we refer it as a table. Clear this? Any database, it always stores data in a structure called table, but ultimately the syntax of creating database, or how you create database, or how you handle those tables might be different, but ultimately they have to create a table and store data in form of a table. Okay, boss? Now, now when you say table, like you see, now I've got a table here with say 5 columns in it. Agent code is one column, agent name is one column, working area is one column, commission and phone numbers. If you see, this table gives you information about what? About agents, right? Now can I say agent is actually an entity, and this table gives you information about that object, what agent was. Okay. Now looking at this table, tell me how many agents do I have in my business? 5. How did you say 5? Because there are 5 rows in it. Because there are 5 rows in the table, you said I have got 5 agents. So what does it mean? Each row in a table will represent the physical existence of the object. When I say I've got agents, I've got 5 agents. ఎవడు వాళ్ళంటే ఎంతమంది అంటే 5 rows ఉంటే 5 మంది ఉన్నట్టు. So each row of a table will represent physical existence of that object. Sir, okay, now I've got agent. Agent would have a name, he has a phone number, he has got some commission, he's got some working area. All those are attributes of agent, properties of agent, which explains about agent. So each column would define the logical property of that entity. ఇప్పుడు మనం ఒక ఆబ్జెక్ట్ని చూసి దాని డాగ్ ఎట్లా అంటాం? ఆల్రెడీ వీ హ్యావ్ సమ్ డెఫినేషన్ ఆఫ్ అ డాగ్ ఇన్ అవర్ బ్రెయిన్. వెన్ యూ సీ అ ఫిజికల్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ మ్యాచింగ్ టు దట్ లాజికల్ డెఫినేషన్, దెన్ యూ సే దట్స్ అ డాగ్, రైట్? సో నిజంగా డాగ్ ఈజ్ ఫిజికల్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్, మన మైండ్లో ఉండేది లాజికల్ డెఫినేషన్. సో each column of a table will explain the property of that entity, and each row would indicate the physical object of that entity, physical existence of that object. So if you have a table with 5 rows, it means you got 5 agents in it. That's what it means. Clear on this now? Yeah. So that's how. And one more thing. Now, when I've got 5 agents, how do I recognize each of these agents? Can there be multiple agents with the same name? Can there be multiple agents with the same contact number? Generally not possible, but still. So now, to uniquely identify all these 5 agents, what I can do, I can just issue a number. So can I use this column value of agent code? can I use the values of this column agent code to recognize each of this physical existence of the object? 5 మంది ఏజెంట్లు ఉన్నారు, ఒక్కొక్కరికి ఒక నంబర్ ఇస్తా ఏజెంట్ కోడ్ అని. సో విత్ దిస్ ఏజెంట్ కోడ్ కెన్ ఐ రికగ్నైజ్ ఈచ్ ఆఫ్ ది ఏజెంట్ యూనిక్లీ బస్? సో దెన్ వీ రెఫర్ దిస్ కాలమ్ as primary key bus. In any database, every table must have primary, but there are some exceptional cases where you can have a table without primary key also, but mostly you would have a database table with a primary key column. So primary key column is something where the values of the column can be used to uniquely identify each and every physical existence of the object. నాకు 5 మంది ఏజెంట్ ఉంటే ఒక్కొక్కరికి గుర్తించాలి కదా, ఒక్కొక్కరికి యూనిక్ నెంబర్ ఇచ్చి పెట్టినా. సో దట్ కాలమ్ is considered as the primary key column, or we also call it a key field column or key column. Okay, and all other columns, now look at this: agent name, working area, commission, phone number, or non-key columns of that. Okay, and non-key columns, what is the purpose of non-key columns? When I can recognize my agent with the number, why should I hold his name, why should I hold his number, why should I hold his contact bus? So what is the purpose of this non-key columns? They provide more meaning towards the agent. Agent number ఒకటే తెలుసు, వాని పేరు ఏంటి, వాని ఊరు ఏంటి, వాడి నంబర్ ఏంటి, వాని కథ ఏంటి. If I need to get his more details, your non-key columns will help you to get that. So non-key columns provide you more meaning towards the key columns. And key column is used to recognize each and every physical object of the entity. Clear on this bus? Okay, good. And most of the database, they call each row as a row, okay, or they can also call it as a record also. ఒక్కొక్క రోను ఒక రికార్డ్ అని కూడా అనొచ్చు, ఓకే, ఆర్ దే ఆల్సో కాల్ ఇట్ టూపుల్ అని కూడా అంటాడు. ఓకే, ఫైన్. క్లియర్ దిస్ బస్? ఓకే. And look at this. Now if I say agent is my column, A001 is a value of this column. A column lo unde value kabatti I refer it as what? Column values antam. Clear on this? Okay, good. Now we need to get into a concept called composite keys. Now what do you mean by a composite key? Look at this. There could be many cases where we cannot have a single column which can act as a primary key. Primary key means should it be unique throughout the entire column? ఆ కాలంలో ఉన్న వాల్యూస్ అన్నీ యూనిక్గా ఉండాలనా? ఎస్ అన్న బస్. సో దెర్ కుడ్ బి సమ్ సిచ్యువేషన్ ఆర్ సినారో వేర్ దెర్ కుడ్ నాట్ బి సింగిల్ కాలం విచ్ కెన్ మెయింటైన్ యూనిక్నెస్ త్రూ అవుట్ ద టేబుల్. ఏ ఒక్క కాలంలో ఉన్న వాల్యూస్ అన్నీ కూడా యూనిక్గా ఉండకపోవచ్చు. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, ఇఫ్ యూ లుక్ అట్ దిస్, if you look at the sales order number, when I say sales order number, for each sales order, okay, for each order you get from a customer, I refer it with a unique number, which is what I refer it as sales order number. If you look at this column, sales order number, how many columns do I have? How many column values do I have for this? ఈ కాలంకి ఎన్ని వాల్యూస్ ఉన్నాయి? 4 ఉన్నాయి. I'll just go with this 10, 11, 11, 12. So does this column have unique values? No. So you see a duplicate with 11 there, yeah? Good. Now let's get on to this one with customer. Do you see customer values unique bus? No. What about metal number? No. Look at M101, 101, yeah? There, see date not unique. There can never, so now if you look at this table, there is no single column which can maintain uniqueness for me bus. Now do I see uniqueness in the price? 10, 20, 60, 70, unique kada? But tomorrow could there be a possibility that there is a transaction with the same price again? So I cannot guarantee uniqueness in the price. ఈ రికార్డ్స్ లో కాదు, ఎప్పటికైనా కూడా యూనిక్ గా ఉండాలి ఫ్యూచర్ కూడా. సేమ్ వే విత్ క్వాంటిటీ, సేమ్ వే విత్ అమౌంట్, సేమ్ వే విత్ కరెన్సీ, ఇట్స్ నాట్ యూనిక్. సో ఇఫ్ యు లుక్ అట్ దిస్ టేబుల్, there is no single column which can qualify as a primary key because there is no column having values unique here. Yeah, so in this kind of cases, what we do, we try to look at a situation where we can combine multiple columns together and set that as primary keys. 1 second, sir. No, look, there is a place you can come in. Amma, jaragamma. Okay, done. నీకు కనిపిస్తుంది. So in this scenario, what we do is we try to combine multiple columns together and try to make it as a composite primary key bus. Now we check to see, is there any possibility where the combination of two columns can become primary key element? Now what columns you can look at? Look at this. If I means by concatenating the value of two columns should be unique throughout the records in the table. If you look, when it's concatenating, it's just combining both the values. Okay. Now which one would you go in this case? If I concatenate both order and customer, can that maintain uniqueness bus? Look at this. I've got order number 11 with customer 2, order number 11 with customer 2. So even if I concatenate both order number and customer number, cannot be true, cannot hold true here in this case. Unique cannot hold uniqueness. But if you look at this, you look at these columns, material number and sales order number. Look at the combination. Can you ever have? Is it possible like this? For one sales order, can I have multiple products being ordered? ఒక ఆర్డర్లో చాలా ప్రోడక్ట్స్ ఉంటాయా? ఒకే ఆర్డర్లో సేమ్ ప్రోడక్ట్ 2-3 సార్లు ఉంటుందా? నెవర్. So if you look at this now, if I look at the concatenation of both these column values like sales order and material number, it will be always unique. Order number anna marutundi, let the product number anna marutundi. If I combine both material number and order number, I can never have it as duplicates. ఎందుకంటే ఒకే ఆర్డర్ నెంబర్లో వేరే వేరే ఐటమ్స్ ఉంటాయి, కానీ సేమ్ ఐటమ్ ఉండేట్లేదు. ఐటమ్ సేమ్ అంటే ఆర్డర్ నెంబర్ అన్న వేరే ఉంటుంది. If you look at this, so combining both sales order number and material number together can form uniqueness for me in this table. Clear this? So in this case, in this situation, so in this kind of scenarios, when we have two or more columns together act as primary key, we call that as composite key. And it is a limitation of the databases that you can only have a composite key of max 16 columns, not more than that.
How can we two sales order numbers?
How can we?
Two sales order numbers.
Because this is at item level. This is at sales order item data. So for the sales order 1, item 1, same sales order item number 2. So since this is item level data, we can have multiple orders with the same number, but differentiating with what? Different products. See, order number 11 ordered with M101, 102, and then order 11 1 and 101. So if order number is same, obviously your items should be different, because this is item. They call this as item level data under sales order item level data. Okay. So that's where we come out with this way, where you set sales order number and material number together. The concatenating both these values together, we set that as what? Composite key. So like this, it is a limitation from the database. We can only have a composite key with max of 16 columns together. Not more. Why? I don't know. It's a limitations from the databases. Okay. Now next we'll have to get into some concept called foreign keys. You need to get into concept called foreign key. Okay. When you say, let me define that, then explain about that. Okay, when you say foreign key, it's like this. When a primary key of one table takes part into the other table, we call this column as foreign keys. ఒక టేబుల్లో ఉన్న ప్రైమరీ కీ ఇంకో టేబుల్లో వాడబడితే దాన్ని ఫారెన్ కీ అంటాం. అది కాన్సెప్ట్. Now if you look at this case, I have a customer table where customer number was a primary key, where I was using it to uniquely identify each of the customer. And the same column is being used in the sales table. So now I refer the green column highlighted as what? Foreign keys. So basically with the help of primary key, foreign key, first let's understand. Clear on this now? Now I'm trying to understand this. What I've got is, I've got one table which actually maintains all the customer data in it. Each record or each row in it, I would say this is my customer entity data. So each row will indicate one physical existence of a customer. If I have 6 rows in the table, it means I've got 6 customers in my business. Okay, boss? Good. And this is my fact table, or this is my sales table, which holds all my sales transaction entity table, which holds all my transaction data of sales. Okay. Now which would indicate like this. I've got a sales order number 1010. With this product MI101, and we're referring to which customer here? 600001, and this is the date of transaction, so and so price, this was the quantity, this was amount, this is the currency. And if I need to know what was the name of the customer who performed this order 400001010, then who is that? It is Pratap. So where do I get that from? From this fact table I refer the customer number, go back to this table, and from this number I can get this name. That is how it has been linked. My question is, why should I store customer data and sales data in two different tables? Boss? Why don't we store everything in a single table? Why should I store in two different tables, then find the number, jump to a different table to get that information? Why don't I have all the data into single table? Boss? Why don't I have all the data in single table here? My question is this. I've got this data in it. I've got data like this as two different columns here. Done. My question is, I know even though the data is stored in two different tables, I can get the information what I want. But my question is, why should I split information into two different tables? Why not into single table? Yeah? My question is, I cut this data out. I place it somewhere here. Now for this was 6001, right? Why don't I store this information here itself? Yeah? And that was next is C002. This was Chand, and I place it here. Next was 103, right? This was customer 3, Mark. Yeah. My question is, instead of having two tables, why don't I have a single table like this? Will that make me more simpler? Because when I need to query my data or when I need my data, I don't have to join tables. Okay, so I can just query on a single table and get the data. It's much simpler for me as a developer. Yeah.
Suppose the manager wants just details on material number and customer and quantity purchase. He doesn't want the other details.
He's saying, if I store data into a big table, he says, if I want only customer number, middle number, I don't need this. It says, then what do? In a select statement, just say only select customer number, middle number, amounts. But don't read the. It's there in the table, but you can just read what you need, right? It doesn't mean that you should always say read select star. Yeah? You can just perform select only on the columns what you want. You can say select customer ID, middle ID. So that I don't agree with that.
So data looks with thousands of records with the millions. So only read just very typical, which is fast.
నువ్వు చెప్పిందే నేను వేరే విధంగా చెప్తా. సో వాట్ ఈ మీన్స్ టు సే ఇస్ చూడు. Now I've got a customer 600002, yeah, and his name is Chand, address idi, phone number idi, area code idi. Bus. How many times am I storing this customer data? Bus? Twice, if that is the case. But if I would have stored my customer data into separate table, sales data into separate table, how many times will I store his name or address or phone number? Once. I'll just store his customer details once, and I'll repeat this number n number of times. So in this case, I'm just storing his customer data only once, but ikkada I'm storing it twice. Imagine, can one customer perform n number of transactions? Possibility. And if this is the case, will I go about storing this customer data 1 lakh times? Same data, his name, address, phone number, which is of no use. Am I not wasting my space? Okay. So as a database architect, your main focus should be storing more data with less space. If that is your concept, or if that is the point you are concentrating on, then would you prefer storing in two tables or single tables? Two tables. You getting in? So basically, as part of database design, where you try to focus on storing more data with less space, you get the concept of splitting data into multiple tables. ఆ కాన్సెప్ట్ లేకపోతే ఇంత కాన్సెప్ట్ లేదన్నా, దే కెన్ స్టోర్ ఎంటైర్ డేటా ఇంటూ సింగిల్ టేబుల్, దే కెన్ స్టార్ట్ ప్లేయింగ్ క్వరీస్ ఆన్ ఇట్. ఇంత డేటాబేస్ కాన్సెప్ట్స్ లేవన్నట్టు. బట్ అల్టిమేట్ ద పాయింట్ ఈస్ దే వాంట్ టు స్టోర్ మోర్ డేటా with less space, so they want to split into multiple tables, not in the single table. So if I store all my data into single table, I am going to have redundant database, and the table becomes huge, and the table becomes increases complexity, and when I fire a query, the performance will be slower. Performance slow ఉంటుంది, complex handling of table becomes complex, yeah, and the same time the table becomes huge, and same time that unnecessarily the same data is stored redundantly, which is of no use. అవసరమైతే ఎంత సైజుగానే వెళ్దామన్న ఇబ్బంది లేదు, ఇంకో కొత్త ర్యామ్ పెడదాం, కొత్త డిస్క్ పెడదాం, ఇబ్బంది లేదు. అవసరం లేకుండా ఎందుకు పెట్టుకోవాలి వేస్ట్, అది కాన్సెప్ట్. సో గెట్టింగ్ టు దిస్ ఫ్యాక్ట్, దట్స్ వై వాట్ దే ట్రై టు డూ ఇస్ దే ట్రై టు స్ప్లిట్ దిస్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఇంటూ మల్టిపుల్ టేబుల్స్. సో వెన్ ఇట్ స్ప్లిట్ ఇన్, ఐఎమ్ రెడ్యూసింగ్ ది రెడెండెన్సీ ఆఫ్ డేటా. అట్లా పెట్టింటే కస్టమర్ చాంద్ బట్ 1 lakh ట్రాన్సాక్షన్స్ 1 lakh టైమ్స్ 1 పేరు 1 అడ్రస్ పెట్టేటోండి. ఇప్పుడు 1 ఒకసారి పెట్టుకుంటా, కానీ నంబర్ మాత్రం రిపీట్ చేసుకుంటా అంతే. సో త్రూ నంబర్ ఐ జస్ట్ లింక్ అప్ దోస్ టేబుల్స్. ఓకేనన్నా, ఫైన్, క్లియర్ ఆన్ దిస్. సో ఇన్ దిస్ కస్టమర్ టేబుల్ ఐ హ్యావ్ దిస్ కస్టమర్ యాజ్ మై ప్రైమరీ కీ, and since this primary key is playing into this table, we call that as foreign key. So with the help of primary key, foreign key, do I have some relationship between the tables? Yeah, I'm relating those tables. What is relationship here? One customer here can perform n number of transactions, bus. So I would say relation is one to many, bus. One customer in this table can perform n number of transactions, or can have n number of records associated in the table. Okay, and it's also get into one more concept called referential integrity, bus. Yeah, say for example, I don't have this customer data at all. When I say I don't have this customer, what does it mean? When I say I don't have this customer record in the customer table, what does it mean? I never had a customer called 600002 bus. Chand, there was no customer for me at all. When there is no customer, can I have a transaction with that number, bus? I am not enforcing the referential integrity in this case. అంటే ప్రైమరీ కీ టేబుల్లో నంబర్ లేకున్నా వేరే టేబుల్ వాడగలిగిన ఫారిన్ కీలో వాడినా అనుకో, సో యూఆర్ నాట్ ఎన్ఫోర్సింగ్ రెఫరెన్షియల్ ఇంటిగ్రిటీ ఇన్ దిస్ కేస్. When I say I want to enforce referential integrity, my foreign key column can only involve those columns which are having values in the corresponding primary key table. Referential integrity ante primary key foreign key madhyalo, when you say you are enforcing referential integrity, what does this mean? Only the values which are in the primary key can be used in your foreign key column, otherwise no. That will happen only if you enforce referential integrity. If you are not enforcing, you can have it. That depends on case to case, business to business. Okay? Endukante, for example, let's say I have some new customer coming in and performing a sales transaction with me. Nenu anta undana, don't do transaction, don't do business with me until I enter your data and whatever untadu. Sal repu vastavu antaru. Customers never, they don't agree to type in their data and give you bus. అవునా కదా బస్, అయితే వద్దులే నువ్వే పెట్టుకో సరుకు అంటాడు. అవునా కదా బస్. సో ఐ షుడ్ బి ఏబుల్ టు డూ ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ ఈవెన్ ఇఫ్ ఐ డోంట్ హ్యావ్ ద మాస్టర్ డేటా. దెన్ ఇన్ దట్ కేస్ యూ విల్ నాట్ ఎన్ఫోర్స్ రెఫరెన్షియల్ ఇంటిగ్రిటీ. But there might be some cases only those customers have to do transaction. In that case, you will enforce referential integrity. So, did you understand the word referential integrity here? Yeah. So now you know what is primary key, what is composite key, what is foreign key, and you know the concept of referential integrity. Okay, that was fine. Any doubt here? Yeah.
Foreign key ante primary key. Foreign key ante primary key lo
ఒక టేబుల్లో అది ప్రైమరీ కీ కాలం, అదే కాలంని నువ్వు ఇంకో టేబుల్లో వాడుతున్నావు అనుకో, ఇంకో టేబుల్లో వాడే దాన్ని ఫారిన్ కీ అంటావు. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఈ టేబుల్ చూడు, కస్టమర్ నెంబర్ ప్రైమరీ కీ ఉంది, ఈ టేబుల్లో అదే కాలం ఇది వాడుతున్నావు, సో అప్పుడు ఇది ఫారిన్ కీగా అవుతుంది. సో డేటా అంటావా అంటే బేసిక్ ఇక్కడున్న వాల్యూసే పడాలని పెట్టామనుకో, వీ కెన్ సెట్ దట్ రూల్, అప్పుడు అది రెఫరెన్షియల్ ఇంటిగ్రిటీ ఎన్ఫోర్స్ చేసినట్టు, కంపల్సరీ ఉండాలన్నట్టు. లేకున్నా అలో చేసినావు చేయొచ్చు, then you can still have numbers without the respect to customer also. Okay. Any other doubt, boss? Then the join will fail. You will get a transaction, but you don't find an associated customer details of it. Fine, but I am not missing transactions here. Then that gets into join concept. We will have different types of joins. Whether do you want to have, so when you try to combine those two tables, we will have different types of joins like inner join, left outer join, right outer join, referential join and chala untayi. Nee scenario batti. See, if you really want to consider the transactions without master data also, then I would say left outer join anta. If I want to then in that case what you will do, you will get in the report, you will get even the transactions for which there is no master also. If I say I want to see only transactions for which there is master data maintained or for which there is customer, then I will say I will join with inner join. Only common ga undetu data vastundi. Depends on how you want it in the report. You can control it with type of join. So join is nothing but a conditioning on those two tables. How you want the condition to be established onto those two tables here. Okay. So knowing what is primary key, what is composite key, what is foreign key, what is referential integrity, we should get into terminology called normalized tables, denormalized tables and normalization. There is a vocabulary with these words. Okay, we need to know what is what. Now look at this. When you say denormalized tables, it will be a very big, huge table with lot of data redundancy in it. So do you understand me when I say data redundancy? Ante ఇప్పుడు ఇందాక సేల్స్ కస్టమర్ డేటా అంతా ఒకే టేబుల్ పెడితే కస్టమర్ డేటా రిపీట్ అయిందా, డేటా redundancy ఉన్నట్టు దాన్ని denormalized tables అంటాం. So when you have a huge big table with lot of data redundancy in it, we refer that as denormalized tables. Clear? Yeah. And then there is a concept called normalized tables. Now when you, instead of storing data in a single big table, when you split the information into multiple smaller tables and start joining them with primary key, foreign key, and where there is no redundancy at all, we refer them as normalized tables. డేటా అంతా ఒకే టేబుల్ పెట్టేదానికంటే వేరే వేరే టేబుల్ పెట్టేసి దాని మధ్యలో జాయిన్ ప్రైమరీకి ఫారిన్కి ద్వారా కనెక్షన్స్ పెట్టుకుంటే నీకు డేటా డూప్లికేట్గా స్టోర్ కాదు, స్పేస్ తక్కువ కావాలి, ఎక్కువ డేటాతో తక్కువ స్పేస్లో పెట్టుకోవచ్చు. అలాంటి టేబుల్స్ని నార్మలైజ్డ్ టేబుల్స్ అంటాం. నౌ టెల్ మీ, నోయింగ్ దిస్ వొకాబులరీ, ఇఫ్ ఐ ఆస్క్ యూ క్వశ్చన్, when you're designing a database for an application, do you focus on making the database as normalized or denormalized? Normalized, because if it is normalized, I would store more information with less space being occupied. That will be my focus. Okay. Then we need to, next vocabulary is normalization. Normalization is actually a process of converting denormalized tables into normalized tables. Normalization is actually a process through which you convert denormalized tables to normalized tables. Generally, this normalization process is performed by a database architect. Let's say you want to develop some application. Let's say now, let's say Cubex is a software company. Yeah? And there is a supermarket who is doing their business. Now, presently, what they are doing is, for every billing transaction, they are trying to record everything in their books. They are writing in the book. Okay. So now what they feel is, since they are writing in the book, they feel the processing of the billing is really slow. Adanto kuchuni raasukuntunte late aitandi, queue perugutandi, repu ee roju vachina repu raavadam le, because of long queue in the sales billing. Yeah. So then the owner of the supermarket decided that, okay, let's go and implement some software for it, for all the billing process. So what does he do? He approaches a software company like me, boss, I do this kind of business and this is my problem. I have got a lot of problem in the billing, it is really slow. Can you develop a software? What only software under can you develop a software to process all my billing quickly? That's the concept. Okay, then what I do? I understand, I go and study his business, what it does is, okay, then based on the understanding of his business, I need to build an application, and every application will need database layer, application server and presentation layer, and nothing but I need a programming language for front end and the logic, I need database in the backend bus. Okay. So then when I decide about using some Oracle or SQL Server or SAP HANA, whatever it is as database, I need to design this database. Ante what billing data adagada software. ఆ బిల్లింగ్ డేటా అంతా పెట్టుకోవాలంటే కస్టమర్ డేటా, ప్రోడక్ట్ డేటా, బిల్లింగ్ డేటా అంతా ఈ డేటాబేస్లో పెట్టాలంటే ఎన్ని టేబుల్స్ ఉండాలా, ఏ టేబుల్ ఏదైనా కనెక్షన్ అయి ఉండాలి, ఆ బొమ్మ వేయాలి డిజైన్. దట్ ఈస్ వాట్ వీ కాల్ ఇట్ డేటాబేస్ డిజైన్. అంటే వాడికి సాఫ్ట్వేర్ తయారు చేయాలంటే నాకు డేటాబేస్ కావాలి, ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ లాంగ్వేజ్ ఫ్రంట్ ఎండ్ కావాలి. డేటాబేస్ కావాలన్నప్పుడు ఈ డేటాబేస్లో ఎన్ని టేబుల్స్ ఉండాలి, ఏ టేబుల్ ఏ కాలమ్స్ ఉండాలి, ఏ కాలం ఏ టేబుల్కి జాయిన్ అయి ఉంటుంది. So when I'm designing this database, my focus will be on making this as more normalized course. Okay, and for this process, the RDBMS concepts comes out with some rules like Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, Form 4 and కొన్ని rules ఉన్నాయి. By using so database architect would use those rules and design the database as such way that the outcome is completely normalized course. Okay, so as a BW consultant, we are not really no way worried on the database design of transaction systems, no. Because as part of BW, we are implementing a warehouse where you are trying to extract the data from a transaction system into BW. Ante transaction system is already implemented, already the database design is done and already the system is live. I just have to extract data from those tables. But we just have to know in the transaction systems, the database tables will be normalized. So when I go into those tables to extract some data, what I need might be available in a single table or might be split across tables also. అంతవరకే నీకు తెలుసుకోవాలి, అంతేగాని ఆ ఫామ్ 1 ఏంది ఫామ్ 10 మనకు అవసరం లేదు. That you treat Excel each column as itself as a table itself. In Excel you will treat each column as a column of a table. Okay, Namas? What I mean to say is, as part of BW, when you're implementing data warehousing solutions, you will be extracting data from different transactional systems. What billing కొడతా ఉంటాడు, డేటా అంతా ఇక్కడ పడుతుంది, డేటాబేస్లో పడుతూ ఉంటుంది. ఆ డేటాబేస్లో నుంచి నేను ఎత్తుకురావాలి, BW ఎత్తుకురావాలంటే ఆ డేటాబేస్ అంతా నార్మలైజ్గా ఉంటుంది. నీకు మొత్తం ఐ వాంట్ టు హ్యావ్ డేటా అబౌట్ సేల్స్ అండ్ కస్టమర్ డేటా అనుకో, అక్కడికి వెళ్ళి చూస్తే కస్టమర్ ఒక టేబుల్లో ఉంటుంది, సేల్స్ ఒక టేబుల్లో ఉంటుంది. ఎందుకు ఉందంటే normalized కాబట్టి. So then might be you want both data into BW, then might be you want to build a view or database view on top of those two tables and then extract using the view or what, we'll see those techniques later. But ultimately అలా ఉంటుంది. But we are nowhere database design చేసేటప్పుడు వాడు కాన్సెప్ట్ అంతా ఫోకస్ అంతా నార్మలైజ్ చేయాలని ఉంటుంది. ఆ డేటాబేస్ డిజైన్ ఎలా చేస్తారని మనకు అవసరం లేదు. The process is called normalization, which will have something like rules, Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, Form 4 అని కొన్ని రూల్స్ ఉంటాయి. అంటే మెనీ టు మెనీ రిలేషన్ ఉంటే వేరే టేబుల్ స్ప్లిట్ చేయాలి, కొన్ని రూల్స్ ఉంటాయి. అట్లా చేసుకుంటూ వెళ్ళేసరికి వాడికి ఈ కమ్స్ అవుట్ విత్ కంప్లీట్ డ్రాఫ్ట్ ఆఫ్ నార్మలైజ్డ్ డేటాబేస్ డిజైన్. ఓకే, సో యూ అండర్స్టాండ్ దిస్ vocabulary now, yeah? And when it comes to BW, we are not focusing on normalization. We are really don't care whether the data is normalized or denormalized. We only care, are we getting the required analysis out for the user or not. ఎందుకంటే ఇక్కడ వీఆర్ నాట్ అక్కడ స్పేస్ డేటాబేస్ సైజింగ్ అనే ప్రాబ్లం కాబట్టి బిడబ్లు వచ్చింది. నువ్వు బిడబ్లో కూడా నాకు సైజ్ ఎక్కువ పడుతుంది, నేను ఈ రిపోర్ట్ అంటే వాడు ఏమంటాడు, పవరా అంటాడు. అవునా? ఇన్ బిడబ్ల్యూ వీఆర్ నో వే కన్సర్న్ విత్ ది డేటాబేస్ సైజింగ్ ఆర్ సంథింగ్, వీఆర్ ఓన్లీ కన్సర్న్ విత్ ఆర్ వి గెటింగ్ ద రిక్వైర్డ్ అనాలిసిస్ ఆర్ నాట్, అది కాన్సెప్ట్. సో ఇన్ బిడబ్ల్యూ వీ వుడ్ ఈవెన్ గో టు ఎక్స్ట్రీమ్ కేస్ వేర్ వీ ఈవెన్ make the data denormalized also if the requirement is such a way like that. If the requirement demands me to make my database as denormalized, yes, I am okay for it, but I can't stop my analysis what I need. Okay, అదే అన్న డేటాబేస్లో ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ సిస్టమ్ మాత్రం కంప్లీట్ నార్మలైజ్డే ఉంటుంది టేబుల్స్. బీడబ్ల్యూకి వచ్చేసరికి నార్మలైజ్డ్ మ్యాక్సిమం ట్రై చేస్తాం, ఇంకా మనకు చేయి దాటిపోతే మనం ఏం చేయలేము. నా డీనార్లు చేస్తేనే రిపోర్ట్ వస్తుందన్నా అనుకో, చేయాల్సిందే, నేను ఆగను. మ్యాక్సిమం ఐ ట్రై టు స్టాప్ ఇట్, బట్ ఇఫ్ ఐ కెనాట్ అవాయిడ్ బేస్డ్ ఆన్ ఇఫ్ రిపోర్టింగ్ రిక్వైర్మెంట్ సచ్ ఏ వే దట్ ఐ కెనాట్ అవాయిడ్ దిస్ నార్మలైజేషన్, దెన్ ఆబ్వియస్లీ ఐ వుడ్ గో విత్ డీనార్మలైజేషన్. బట్ డీనార్మలైజ్ పోవడం వల్ల తప్పేం కాదు నా కాన్సెప్ట్ BW. అది
Are there any techniques for normalization or
Yeah, SAP does in SAP BW does implement a lot of techniques to make it normalized, but still there are cases we get into normalized mode also. But that's why what they try to do is now we have something like master data, right? In BW, what they do is in BO they refer it as dimension. In BW, we store master data not in one table. They try to store in 3 different tables. Endukante for normalizing. They tried normalizing to a larger extent, but if there is some case, we would not be concerned with that really. Okay. Okay, boss. So now look at this. Just let's say that they're trying to do some database design for some small billing. What I was looking at, they might come out with a design something like this: store information in one table, product information into one table. Then they'll have separate table as sales data into it. All the facts, all the transactions into one table. At what he might come out with some 3 or 5 or 10, 15, depends on his requirements. Atla he comes out with the design, and then they log into the database. They start creating those tables and enter all the required data. Then they start processing all the transactions. That's the concept. Clear? Okay. Understanding and application. See, now we're trying to understand what is application. Any application you refer, it must have programming language, database, OS, and then concept. Now, what is the purpose of programming language? What is the purpose of programming language? When you're developing let's say I'm developing a sales billing application for a supermarket, why do I use programming language? Yeah, for rendering all the user interface, like text box, buttons, all those, I would use programming language. And when I'll place some buttons, right? When you click some button, some functionality should happen, and all those functionalities implemented with programming language only. And ultimately, let's say he enters some data and then he clicks on save button. The data should go and sit into my database. Yes or no? So all those logics I would do with programming language, and all the data should come and get collected into what? Database. So I need what? Next is I need a database, and all this exe file should run on OS here, and then there should be some reasoning for which we develop an application. Now I am developing this application for automating the billing process in a supermarket. అదొక కాన్సెప్ట్. దానికోసం నేను సాఫ్ట్వేర్ తయారు చేస్తున్నాను. అట్లా సేమ్ వెన్ యూ సే BW, data warehousing is a concept, and programming language used would be your ABAP, and database is any database you can install. You can install BW on top of any database, and OS generally runs on Unix or Linux or Windows. Okay, and then concept is data warehousing. Okay, and when you say data warehousing, this is what it is. You will have OLTIP system. What does OLTIP systems do? They'll be recording all the transactions of, let's say I perform some sales order. I get an order from a customer. I record that into some OLTIP system. Let's say I do some payment towards my supplier. I record the transaction. So recording of all those transactions is taken care by your OLTP systems. Online transaction, which takes care about recording every transaction of your business. Transaction jarugutune automatic recording అయిపోతుంది. So when you keep recording like that, will it start generating some data out? Will it generate some data which is called as transaction data? I'll discuss on that later. But so what you do, whatever the transaction data which is generated here, you would extract those data into what? Into a data warehouse, and then start doing reporting on top. So your BW can extract, can do modeling, and can do report. It's an end-to-end data warehousing solution. It's an enterprise data warehousing solution. And where it consolidates data from all the applications together and gives out one point of truth for any agile data model. Enterprise data మొత్తం దగ్గర తెచ్చేసి మొత్తం ఇంటిగ్రేట్ చేసి మొత్తం కన్సాలిడేట్ చేసి మొత్తం ట్రాన్స్ఫార్మ్ చేసి రెడీకి పెట్టి ఎవడైనా దాని నుంచి వాడుకున్నా ఒకటే రిజల్ట్ ఇస్తా ఉంటుంది. నువ్వు చూసిన రెవెన్యూ ఒకటే వస్తుంది, నేను చూసిన రెవెన్యూ ఒకటే వస్తుంది. సో విచ్ కెన్ సాటిస్ఫై దట్ పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ గివింగ్ వన్ పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ ట్రూత్ ఫర్ ఎనీ రిపోర్ట్స్ ఆర్ ఎనీ అజైల్ డేటా మోడ్ విచ్ కన్జ్యూమ్స్ డేటా ఫ్రమ్ BW. That is what your enterprise data warehouse is. Okay, boss? Yeah. So before you understood about what is BW, what is application. So BW is an application. It is actually a software. Actually, market lo data warehousing అని ఒక కాన్సెప్ట్ ఉందన్న. ప్రతి కంపెనీ వాళ్ళు వాళ్ళ ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ డేటా అంతా చాలా పడి ఉంది, అదంతా డేటా తీసుకొచ్చి ఒక దగ్గర పెట్టుకుని రిపోర్టింగ్ ఎందుకు చేసుకోకూడదు అనే థాట్ వచ్చింది. వస్తేనే SAP వాడింది అందరికీ ఇట్లా అవసరం ఉంటుందని చెప్పేసి వాడు ఒక సాఫ్ట్వేర్ తయారు చేసి ఇది చేసినాడు, అందరూ వాడుకోండి రబ్బా అన్నట్టు. ఇక్కడ ఇంతకుముందు సినారీ ఏమైంది, ఒక సూపర్ మార్కెట్ వాడు వచ్చి నన్ను వచ్చి అడిగితే నేను తయారు చేసిన, బీడబ్ల్యూ ఒకటి తయారు చేస్తే SAP తయారు చేయలే, ఇట్లా రిక్వైర్మెంట్ ఉంటుంది మార్కెట్లో అని అనుకుని ముందే దాన్ని ఎనేబుల్ చేసేట్టు ఒక సాఫ్ట్వేర్ తయారు చేసి ఇటు చేసినాడు మార్కెట్లో, అందరూ గ్లోబల్గా వాడుకుని ఎవరు కాబట్టి వాడుకోండి. దట్ ఈస్ వాట్ ఇట్ ఈస్ రెఫర్డ్ as a product. Okay, so I built a billing application specific to some customer requirement, and BW was a software which was designed by SAP as a global requirement for most of the enterprises which needs a data warehousing solution for them. Adi, yeah, what was it?
It's just like collecting the cumulative data and generating the reports.
That is it, and that's a basic fund of it. And we can also do data mining, we can also do planning, we can also do forecasting. That's again the additional benefits what you get out of the business intelligence tool, because you already have all the data there. The next thought is, why don't we use the same data for mining, why don't we use the same data for predictive analytics, why don't we use the same data for planning also. That's the concept. Clear this? Yeah. Now before we get on to the next concept, we need to understand this vocabulary. What is master data and what is transaction data? There's a lot of confusion around this, so let's clarify this out, because we keep using these words a lot when you get on to BW. Okay. Good. Before we understand this, now try to understand this point now. What do you mean by business, boss? Business ante endi? What do you mean by business? Na book lo definition of the business ante endi, boss? Profit and loss raava business lo. Loss, profit and losses. Let's say I also can do some business without any profits or loss also, right? Like NGO organization, అది కూడా బిజినెస్ కదా. నా ఉద్దేశం ఏమంటా అంటే, నేను నా డెఫినేషన్ ఎట్లా తీసుకుంటా అంటే, లెట్స్ సే దెర్ ఇస్ సమ్ పాన్ షాప్, ఓకే, ఐ గో టు హిమ్ ఇన్ ద మార్నింగ్ అండ్ సే, ఏ వ్యాపారం ఎట్టుందప్ప అంటే, ఏందుందన్న ఎవడో ఏం కొన్ని జరగలేదని అంటే, ఏం జరగలేదు, ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ జరగలేదు. When he says the business is dull, it means there are no transactions done. Okay. So when I ask him, ఏం చేస్తావు అన్న అంటే, వాట్ ఈస్ యువర్ బిజినెస్ అంటే ఏముందన్న, అది 5 రూపాయలు కొంటాను 6 రూపాయలకి అమ్ముతావు, రూపాయలు లాభం అన్నమాట. When I ask him what business do you do, okay, he is explaining me all the events or transactions what he does. నువ్వు వ్యాపారం ఏం చేస్తావు అన్న అంటే, కొంటాను అమ్ముతాను అంటాను అంటే, buying is one transaction, selling is one transaction. So he is just explaining me that all the transactions what it does was, right? So can I define saying, when I say business, it's set of business transactions or events, ante. So depending on type of business, depending on scale of business, you would have number of transactions or the size of transactions or variety of transactions.
Another example can be the ATM machine.
Yeah, that is a transaction of a banking sector. Yeah, that's also a transaction. Yeah. Okay, boss. So అంటే నా పాయింట్ ఏమంటే, బిజినెస్ అంటే ట్రాన్సాక్షన్స్ అన్నట్టు, అది కాన్సెప్ట్. వాడు ఎంత పెద్ద బిజినెస్ అయితే అంత పెద్ద ట్రాన్సాక్షన్స్ ఉండొచ్చు, అన్ని ఎక్కువ ఉండొచ్చు. ఇట్ డిపెండ్స్ ఆన్ ద సైజబుల్, ఓకే, స్కేలబిలిటీ. సపోజ్ ఇఫ్ ఐ లుక్ అట్ అ వెరీ బిగ్ క్లయింట్ లైక్ షెల్, ఇఫ్ ఐ ఆస్కింగ్ వాట్ బిజినెస్ యూ డూ, వాడు ఒక 2 days ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తాడు అన్నట్టు ప్రాసెస్. వాడు ఏమంటే, I have got upstream, I have got downstream అనుకుంటా స్టార్ట్ చేస్తాడు. సేల్స్ ఆర్డర్ ఉంటుంది, డెలివరీ, I've got బిల్లింగ్, వాడు ఇట్లా వస్తాడు, ఇట్లా అడుగుతాడు, ఐ చెక్ ద అవైలబిలిటీ ఆఫ్ ద ప్రోడక్ట్, దెన్ ఐ గివ్ డెలివరీ. ఇలా లాట్స్ ఆఫ్, అంటే ఈచ్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ ఈజ్ వన్ ట్రాన్సాక్షన్. క్రియేటింగ్ సేల్స్ ఆర్డర్, కాంట్రాక్ట్స్, డెలివరీ, బిల్లింగ్, ఇన్వాయిసింగ్, జనరల్ లెడ్జర్స్, యూ హ్యావ్ ఎన్ నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ ట్రాన్సాక్షన్స్, రైట్? సో వాడు యువర్ బిజినెస్ బట్టి వాడు డిఫైన్ చేసుకుంటాడు transactions. Yeah, but ultimately when he is explaining business, he would explain about all the transactions what it does. Yeah, so I would define business as set of business activities or nothing but what, transactions. Next question is, what is a transaction or what is an activity? What is a transaction, what is an activity? Yeah, now let's say, okay, what does shop person say, I buy this for 5 rupees and I sell this for 6 rupees. Now asking, what do you mean by buying? Then what ఏమంటే, ఏముందన్నా ఈ ప్రోడక్ట్ వాడు సప్లయర్ దగ్గర నుంచి ఐఎమ్ బయింగ్ అంటాడు. కొనుక్కుంటా అంటాడు. సో when I ask him what is buying, he explains this is the product involved and this is the supplier, I buy it from him. So there are three parties involved in it. One is the product, one is a supplier, and one is a shop owner. These three together perform an event, and this event is called a transaction. Okay, and we can also call as objects, like shop owner is one object, product is one object, the supplier is one object. These three together interact and they perform an event. Yeah? That is called as buying. So when I say transaction, can I define like this? When two or more entities interact together, they generate an event, and that is what referred as transactions. That could be as buying or selling, sales order, delivery, billing, JL, SL, special ledger, accounts payable, account receivables, quality management, notifications, what not. Any transaction you name, at least you would have two parties involved, or two objects, and that is what each object we refer it as an entity. So product was an object, which is an entity, supplier was an entity, shop owner was an entity. So next question is, what do you mean by an entity? Any object, any noun, name, place, animal, thing, any noun can become an entity. For example, any object which can perform work by itself, or which we can use it to perform some work, is an object. Now table, as it is, it cannot do anything, but I can still use it to place my system, I can use it to write my notes. So is it an object? Yes, it's an entity. Elephant, it can sit, it can stand, it can walk, it can do all this by itself, but I also can use it to carry my goods. Yes or no? It's an entity. Any noun, name, place, animal, thing becomes an entity. Any object. Okay? So any object who actually gets involved into an event or into a transaction, we refer that as what? Entity. Clear this? Yeah? Good. Now you know what is business, what is transaction, what is an entity, right? Yeah? Good. Now we get into this vocabulary of master data and transaction data. Detailed information about an entity's master database. Let's say I was referring to a transaction called buying, right, where I was referring to product, supplier, and shop owner. If I give you details of the product, say product name is so and so, and the price of product is so and so, the color of product is this, we have this product in so many variations, it has got width is so much, height is so much, and this is available in so many variations. If I give you details of a product, what is it? Is it not master database? Master data of product, or can I say product master data? That is. Now let's say I ask him a question, from which supplier do you buy? Yeah, he gives him there is a supplier called Pratap, and he comes from Hyderabad, he stays in Kukatpalli, he is the one who actually supplies me this product. Is it not information about the supplier? And supplier is an entity, so information about that entity is what? Master database. So supplier master data. Okay. So do you understand this? Information about any entity who is getting involved into the transaction is what we call as master database. Okay, boss. Then we need to understand transaction database. Okay. Now what do you mean by transaction database? Okay. Now generally these entities interact and they perform an event, and this event is called transaction, and this transaction is recorded as data, and this data becomes transaction database. I have a product, I have a supplier, I have a shop owner. We three are getting involved and performing an event called buying, okay, which is called a transaction, and I record this transaction as a data, saying which was a product, who was a supplier, and on what date, on what time the shop owner has purchased at what price, what was the quantity, and what is the total value of the order. This is data record. So this is called as transaction. So by looking at this data, can I understand an event? Can I understand a transaction? ఈ డేటా చూస్తే పలానా సప్లయర్, పలానా ప్రోడక్ట్, పలానా షాప్ ఓనర్ కాబట్టి ఈ ప్రైస్తో ఇంత క్వాంటిటీని కొన్నాడు, ఆ రోజు కొన్నాడు అని అర్థమవుతుంది. సో దట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ డేటాబేస్. వెన్ ఐ లుక్ అట్ సమ్ డేటా and can understand that there is some event happened or there is some transaction happened, I refer that as transaction database. అర్థమైందన్నా? లేకపోతే ఇంకోసం ఇదే మెయిన్ కాన్సెప్ట్. ఆర్ we also call the transaction data as fact data అంటారు. ఫ్యాక్ట్స్ అంటే once it is happened అయిపోయింది, జరిగిపోయింది. అంతే. ఇప్పుడు జరిగిపోయిందంటే అది ఓల్డే, ఇంకా నెక్స్ట్ సెకండ్కి అది ఓల్డే. కొత్తదికి ఓల్డ్కి ఏం తేడా నీకు? ఎన్ని రోజులు అయితే నీకు ఓల్డ్ అంటావు, ఎన్ని రోజులు అయితే కొత్తది అంటావు చెప్పు, దాన్ని బట్టి చెప్తాను. అంతే, ఓల్డే ఇంకా అయిపోయా. ఒక్కసారి సేవ్ కొట్టినావా ఇంకా అయిపోయి ఓల్డ్ అంతే. అంతే, మన క్రైటీరియా ఏం లేదు. 10 years అయితే ఓల్డా, 5 years అయితే ఓల్డ్ అనేది కాన్సెప్ట్ లేదు. సెకండ్కి సేవ్ కొట్టినావా అది ఓల్డ్ అయిపోయింది. కొత్తదంటే ఇంకా ఇంటర్ మధ్యలో ఉన్నట్టు కొత్తది అంతే. ఓకేనా బస్? దర్ ఇస్ నో డెఫినేషన్ ఫర్ ఓల్డ్ అండ్ న్యూ, అది ఏం లేదు. ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ జరిగిపోయింది అయిపోయి ఫ్యాక్ట్. ఫ్యాక్ట్ మీన్స్ విచ్ ఇస్ ఆల్రెడీ డన్. ఓకే, పాస్ట్. ఓకే, దట్స్ హౌ ఇట్ ఇస్. సో దే ఆల్సో రెఫర్ ద ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ ఇట్ as ఫ్యాక్ట్స్ అంటారు అన్నమాట. ఫ్యాక్ట్ టేబుల్స్ అంటారు. సో ద టేబుల్స్ వేర్ యూ స్టోర్ ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ డేటా వీ ఆల్సో కాల్ దమ్ as ఫ్యాక్ట్ టేబుల్స్ అని కూడా అంటాం. ఓకే బస్? సో you get out the tables like this. The tables which store master data, I call them as master data tables anta. Okay, tables which stores my transaction data, I start calling them as fact tables, and they start using that vocabulary. They can call it as transaction table anochu, but they start using the vocabulary as fact table, master tables antaru. Master data tables ante entity information undedi. Fact tables ante transaction data unde tables, fact tables antaru. You understand the vocabulary? No? What was you? Okay, now I'll just stop this out. So this will get expired after 1 hour.